quick content note here before we begin this episode of What Am I Rolling? This episode's one-shot, Bluebeard's Bride, is a supernatural horror game, and it's intentionally designed to push the limits of the intellectual dark side and exercise our twisted imaginations. That said, it means there is the possibility for people who are listening to be emotionally overwhelmed or upset by the content that we explore in this one-shot. I just want to take a moment to reiterate that before recording, the players and myself did our own boundaries check and went over some RPG safety tools, just to make sure that we were good to play. You can find links to such resources in the detailed show notes of this episode. For those of you listening, please be aware that there is content in this one-shot which is intentionally disturbing and uncomfortable. So, do take a break or skip this one-shot should you need to. Content warnings include, and are not limited to, body horror, betrayal, relationships and the breakdown of relationships, lack of agency, emotional manipulation, eating disorders, and violence towards women. Thanks for listening, and stay safe, my friends. Hello, and welcome to What Am I Rolling? A twice-monthly RPG one-shot podcast, hosted by me, Fiona. This week, I'm joined by my friends Hazel, Mariam, Vivienne, David, and Amy for Bluebeard's Bride, a tabletop role-playing game of supernatural horror set in a familiar fairy tale, written by Whitney Strix Beltran, Marissa Kelly, and Sarah Richardson, and published by Magpie Games. A young bride is wed to an ugly but powerful man with a blue beard. He invites her to explore the house, but one room is forbidden. Eventually, the young bride falls prey to her curiosity and opens it, discovering a most gruesome display inside. You can find out more information about Bluebeard's Bride and get your own copy on the official Magpie Games website. That's magpiegames.com/bluebeards-bride. I'll add links to it on the What Am I Rolling website and in this episode's show notes. So, as you might have guessed, this one-shot is a little bit different to our previous one-shots, as I ran it live for the Drunken Storytellers podcast on their Twitch channel. This episode's audio was taken from that live stream and has only been edited slightly to take out the breaks in the stream. You can watch the original unedited stream on the Drunken Storytellers YouTube channel. I'll put a link to it on the What Am I Rolling website and in this episode's show notes. I just wanted to give a massive thank you and shout out to the Drunken Storytellers podcast for allowing me to run this particular one-shot for them. The Drunken Storyteller podcast is a podcast where the host, David, explores the world's myths, legends and stories, whilst while having a few drinks. If you're interested in diving deep into folklore, then I highly recommend checking out this podcast. Recently, David did an incredibly detailed episode on the original Bluebeard fairy tale, which inspired the RPG. So I've put a link to it in this episode's show notes if you're keen to know more. As Bluebeard's Bride breaks up quite nicely into distinct sections, I go through each section and the rules as they come up on the live stream. One last thing before we begin. Naturally, there are times in this one-shot where the players and myself, mostly myself, get the rules wrong or forget something plot-wise. Whilst we always endeavour to stick to the rules wherever possible, at the end of the day, we all make mistakes, and what matters most is that everyone enjoys themselves. So, with all that out of the way, let's play Bluebeard's Bride.
And we are live, I hope. Yes, we are. Cool. Welcome, everybody, this evening to the Drunken Storytellers podcast. Not podcast. This is not the podcast. This is the live stream.
Good job. It's going well.
Exactly what I'm doing. I'm professional, me. We're playing Drunken Storytellers Twitch stream. We are playing some Bluebeard's Bride today. I'm just going to quickly introduce everybody, a little bit of what's going on, and then hand over to our GM, who's going to be next to me. So we have today we've got... In fact, we'll just go around and everybody can introduce themselves. I'm not going to introduce you. You all know who you are. We'll start with Fiona. Who are you?
Hi, everyone. My name is Fiona, and I am the groundskeeper or games master for tonight's show. I'm looking forward to going it. And I'll nominate the next person, so I will go with Hazel. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Hazel, and I will be playing the animals for this show. I will nominate, Mariam.
That's all right.
Hi, I'm Mariam, and I will be playing the Fatale of this bride.
Ooh. You want
And
to...
I will nominate Vivienne.
Hi, my name's Vivienne, and I am going to be playing Mother in this stream. I'll nominate. There's only one person left, I think. Amy.
I'm Amy, and I'll be playing the witch.
And David, would you like to introduce who you're playing?
Yep. I'm playing the Virgin. So yeah. Just a little bit of housekeeping on my side before I hand over fully to Fiona. As I say, we are playing a game called Bluebeards Bride today. I released a podcast episode yesterday where I tell the story in a very, very different vein to probably the story Fiona's going to tell us in a minute. And I delve into kind of the background of the actual tale itself and where it comes from and the connections to the role play that we're playing today and its ideas of how it's connected to feminist folklore. So if you want to go and check that out, go over onto any of your podcast areas and find the Drunken Storyteller, and you'll see it on there. It went up live yesterday, and I've had some good feedback already from it, so I'm quite happy with that one.
Amazing work.
Other than that, the other thing that I am doing, which I'm going to put up here for the moment, is that's not worked. I am running the London Marathon. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm training to run the London Marathon. I am going to be running it for a charity called No Man is an Island, and these are a HPV and anal cancer awareness charity. Their aim is to eradicate 5% of cancers that are caused by HPV. So please do go check them out. There's a Just Giving link I've just put into the chat as well. So they're a great charity. A friend of mine runs them as well. So that's kind of cool. And other than that, I think that's me done. We'll hand over now to Fiona to give us everything. I've already put the content warning up as well, so you can...
Cool. Well, I'll go into it anyway. Well, thank you so much, David. And yes, please go do support. I mean, who the hell goes to run a marathon? That guy does. So please go support that. But hello and welcome to our Bluebeard Bride stream. Just in case you're unaware, Bluebeard Bride is a tabletop role-playing game of supernatural horror set in a familiar fairy tale. You may have heard the tale itself, and we will retell it again just so that people are aware. But the short of it is this. There is one room in Bluebeard's house that is forbidden to his bride, but eventually she falls prey to her curiosity and opens it, only to discover gruesome evidence that her husband is a killer of women. Tonight, these wonderful players will be exploring the rooms of Bluebeard's home as his bride, creating our own beautifully tragic version of this dark fairy tale. Each player, as has already been sort of noted, I guess, is going to take on an aspect of the bride's psyche, a sister, if you call it, and they will guide the bride through Bluebeard's house armed with little more than a set of keys. Each of them will take turns speaking as these aspects of her psyche would speak, deciding what actions the bride will take, pushing the bride deeper into the mysteries of each room. Their aim is to gather tokens and to see if Bluebeard is truly a monster or not, whilst also encountering horrors along the way. Eventually, these sisters will make their way to the final room and seal the bride's fate forever. Now, sisters may not always agree, mimicking the internal struggles we all sometimes feel when confronted with difficult choices. But remember that the bride and our experience of this game is stronger for these types of conflicts and disagreements. The rules itself, which we'll go into as we play, involve some negotiation and a bit of chance. Sometimes a player will wear Bluebeard's wedding ring and directly control the bride's actions. Other times they may roll dice to determine what happens next. The important thing to say is that no one person directly controls a story, not even I, as the groundskeeper, who portrays various servants and horrors they may meet along the way. So, before we start into the story and start our character creation, because we do need to do a little bit of that, I just want to take a moment. We've already done it thanks to David's wonderful introduction, but I thought we'd do it again to set some expectations and do some content warnings for today's session. Bluebeard Bride is designed to push the limits of our intellectual dark side and exercise everyone's twisted imaginations. But this means that there is a possibility for some people to get emotionally overwhelmed or upset by that content. Off camera, we've done our own group boundaries and foundries check with a traffic light system of lines and veils and gone over the safety tool of the X card. But for those of you who are watching or listening to this stream, please be aware that there may be some content in tonight's game that is disturbing and uncomfortable by nature. So be kind to yourself and do take a break or skip the session should you need to. Right. With all that sort of admin and house rules out of the way, I have a story to tell you. You might have heard it. It's called Bluebeard's Bride. So, the story of Bluebeard. Once upon a time, there lived a lord whose palace was so splendid and so richly furnished that even the sultans could not be compared with it. He had dishes of gold and silver, sofas and chairs upholstered in the finest of silk. The walls were adorned with every kind of curious antique. There was, however, something very odd about this lord. The colour of his beard was a rich and shocking blue. His countenance was both distinct and unmistakable, and so he was never spoken of by his real title, which was a grand and noble. But instead, he was simply referred to as Bluebeard. He was a fearsome man with deep-set eyes and was known for having an uneven temper. Even so, Bluebeard had been married many times. No one quite knew what had become of each one of his wives in turn, as there'd never been a funeral at the palace that anyone living could remember. They just simply vanished. And when time passed, he would marry anew. One day, Bluebeard went hunting in the countryside near his estate. With the sun high, he came upon a dilapidated farmstead and wished to slay his first and rest. The farmers were eager to please the powerful lord and sent their lovely young daughter scurrying to serve him with tea and bread. Bluebeard was instantly smitten with her beauty. He decided then that he would take her as his wife. For a week, he entertained her amongst a cadre of fine lords and ladies. No expense was spared. His wealth was dazzling in the way a cobra dazzles a mouse. After a single hedonistic week, Bluebeard came to call with a marriage proposal. Bluebeard scared the young woman, but she couldn't let her family languish in poverty. And besides, maybe his beard wasn't quite that blue. She accepted his proposal. In short order, they were married at the palace, and such a sight it was. 1,000 white lilies decorated the pagoda for the ceremony. Delightful incense burned throughout the night. The young bride awoke the next morning in her bed alone, her marriage yet unconsummated. This caused her some amount of anxiety, but also relief. She was escorted by a servant to the dining hall, and there she found Bluebeard breaking his fast. He greeted her cheerily and bade her eat. Bluebeard informed her that he had received urgent news and must leave at once on a journey of much importance, and would be likely to be gone for many weeks. To console her, he kissed her affectionately and gave her the keys to every door in the house. He bade her to amuse herself in his absence. "Here," he said, "are the keys to your new home. The smallest key, my dear, is for the closet at the end of the great gallery. Open everything, go everywhere, save this one little room. I forbid you to use that key." The bride promised faithfully to obey his orders. She stood, waving to him from the palace gates as his caravan of camels and horses kicked up a trail of dust as they departed. No sooner was he gone that she began to wonder what could possibly be hidden behind the forbidden door. Did he hide disturbing habitats? Oh, sorry, say that again. Did he hide disturbing habits or unseemly desires? Was there some secret treasure known only to those of noble blood? Did he hide a mistress? Or was it something too terrible for her innocent mind to guess at? She distracted herself from the idea with an exploration of the palace. She inspected the galleries, each one magnificent and splendid, more so than the last. She tried on exotic furs and rubbed herself in priceless oils. She visited the servants in the kitchen, which caused quite a stir, and luxuriated in the steamy marble baths. All the while, her curiosity was gnawing at her. Was not the palace now her domain? Did not her husband trust her with his secrets? She idled in her bedchambers, becoming lethargic and gloomy. The splendor of her surroundings took on a sour bent, and she could not take any pleasure in them. Finally, she couldn't resist the siren call of the forbidden door no longer. In the pitch of night, she took a single lamp and descended at a back staircase to the gallery. Upon reaching the closet door, she paused, remembering her husband's command. She feared what might happen if she disobeyed, but the impulse of her curiosity was too strong to resist. With trembling hands, she fit the small key into the lock and opened the door. At first, with the weak lamplight, she couldn't see much. As her eyes adjusted, she realized what was in the room. The floor was covered in congealing blood, and the walls were lined with headless bodies, Bluebeard's previous wives. A great scream tore itself from her throat as she dropped the key. It was a few moments before she came back to herself. In a daze, she grabbed the key from the floor and rushed out of the room. She locked it behind her and returned to her chambers. In the daylight of the following morning, it all seemed like a dream. But when she examined the small key, she found a stain of blood upon it. She wiped it carefully, but the blood remained. She then washed it and scoured it with sand, but to no avail. That very evening, Bluebeard came back from his journey saying that he had received word on the road that his business had already been settled. His wife tried her hardest to appear happy at his early return, but on the inside, she quailed. She waited with dread anticipation for him to ask for the return of his keys. He did so upon the next morning. He looked through the keys and saw that the littlest one was stained. How come this blood upon the key? I do not know, she faltered. But I do, mocked Bluebeard. You have done as I have forbidden. Well, now you will go in once again and take your place amongst the ladies you were so curious to see. The bride threw herself at her husband's feet and begged him to forgive her disobedience, but Bluebeard had a heart of flinty stone. Prepare for your death, he declared. No, please, give me but a few minutes, she cried, so that I may pray. Bluebeard agreed, and the bride rushed to the top of the nearest tower, hoping against hope that someone, such as her father or mother, may be approaching for a visit, so that she could give them a sign to make haste. Pennants whipped silently in the sun, but nobody was coming. The bride wept bitterly. Given no choice, the bride descended. He led her towards the tiny, horrible room. Near its entrance, he bade her kneel on the rough flagstone. She obeyed, weeping, and without ceremony, he chopped off her head and put her body in amongst the other wives. So, that is the tale of Bluebeard's Bride. For our one-shot, our tale will be a little bit different, as we will be actively exploring these rooms and making decisions and coming upon the horrors which will haunt this mansion and deciding whether or not Bluebeard is a monster. That's so weird. In my notes, no joke, it's gone Bluebeard is a monster of evil, and then for some reason it's just repeated evil several times. I've definitely not done that. That is so creepy. Sorry. Never mind. We'll move on from that. So within each room, the bride will aim to propose a truth about what has happened, to whom, and why it has happened. Proposing a truth will allow you to collect a token of faithfulness or disloyalty, furthering the evidence that you have against your husband. Against or for your husband. Doesn't have to be against. When we've collected enough evidence, then it is time for the final room, which was the one that Bluebeard forbade you to enter. We will then decide if the bride would open the forbidden door, merely peek through the keyhole, try to run for her very life, or if it's already too late for her. So, with all that sort of out of the way, let's start with some character creation. So when we start creating our sisters, we start with some questions, and we've already divvied up the playbooks, and we're going to go around in certain order as we get ready for the wedding. So we're going to start with individual questions first. So each sister will be asked to describe one physical aspect of the bride before we go on to some common questions. So we will start with the animus, which is Hazel. Animus, I would like you, I need to make sure I've got my own notes for this. I want you to answer this following question. What are the bride's hands like, and what weakness do you give away when others hold them?
So the bride's hands are, they're not rough, like she works in a sort of manual labour job, but she's obviously practical with them. She obviously knits, does some sewing. There are sort of grazes occasionally on her hands in various states of being healed. So she does things, she's active with her hands. What weakness do you give away when others hold your hand? That's mine is in the animus's hand rather than the bride's.
So you're answering on behalf of the bride, so yes.
So I think when others hold her hand, it's very clear the sort of softness that she has, the sort of desire to be with people and near people and share silly and intimate moments, little jokes and little bits of fun that she has with others. So holding her hand will bring out a sort of soft and silly and fun side.
Interesting. So the difference of the texture, so the hands are a little bit rough, perhaps, but actually they give away that then there's something beneath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Very, very good. We'll then go for the fatale. That is Miriam. Miriam, your question is, what does the bride's mouth look like, and how do others keep her quiet?
Yeah, so the bride's mouth is, her lips are full, plump, and naturally with the sort of blush of a rose red, and her teeth are white with a very kind of adorable, disarming gap in the front of her teeth, and her tongue is sharp and witty and seductive. And others keep her quiet by putting her in her place and reminding her of her station, that she is of the working class.
Thank you for that. Mother, so Vivienne, your question is, what is the bride's figure like? What do others wish was different about it?
You know, people tell her, when people talk to her about it, they tend to just sort of try to avoid the word fat. But, you know, it's sort of one that inevitably comes up and is accurate. And, you know, everyone's always like, oh, well, you know, you'll just sort of get work on you, do some stuff, it'll be better. But, you know, she's having a pretty good time. She's, you know, it keeps you warm in the winter and it makes it more comfortable to sit down. So she's pretty happy with that, no matter what they say. And so, but, you know, it does its job. It's a body.
So she's comfortable in her own skin. Perfect, thank you. Virgin, David, I need you to answer the following question. What do the bride's eyes look like? How do others know you want them when they gaze into your eyes?
She has bright, piercing blue eyes, kind of sky blue rather than a deep blue. They are very vivid in their colour, and they catch the light. When they catch the light, it's almost as if they sparkle. They're innocence looking as well. When people gaze into them and see the eyes, they see the innocence behind them. And they also kind of catch a twinkle in that it's not all innocent behind that eye, that there is a little bit of naughtiness, that she does maybe want to no longer be the virgin, and that she's willing to take that in whatever way she can.
Mm-hmm. I guess, do people underestimate from the look of the eyes, and then they look and go, there's some intent behind it. Yeah. Brilliant, thank you.
It's the Disney princess look, but then when you get behind that and look slightly deeper, it's like, oh, hang on a minute.
She's not all what she seems. Thank you for that. And then finally, the witch, Amy. I would like you to answer the following question. What is the bride's hair like? And how do others like you to wear it?
Her hair is long, probably mid-back or lower. Slightly wavy, but tameable, not out of control by any means. Probably a mid-brownish. Her mother likes her to wear it down, and so does her father, because it reminds them of when she was a little girl, and it's more, but she prefers to wear it up because she thinks that's more fitting of her new status and more adult.
Brilliant, thank you. All right, and now you've all answered wonderfully for your individual questions. We're now going to ask some common questions, so you'll all answer these questions. But what we'll do, we'll go back along the route. So Amy, you'll be the first one, and then we'll go David, Vivienne, Mariam, and Hazel, and then Hazel as we were there. And I'll say that. So Amy, the first question I'd like you to answer is, what are you leaving behind from your provincial life to become Bluebeard's bride?
She's leaving behind some of her passions. As Hazel said, she liked to sew and knit, but the lady of a castle does not do such things. She has servants to do those things for her. So she's leaving behind her passion of crafting, and she's having to put them aside to become more than what she was before. She will have other pastimes to entertain her.
Absolutely, thank you. Virgin, the same question. What are you leaving behind from your provincial life to become Bluebeard's bride?
The safety of a known existence. So my life, or her life, has been, it's been well structured. She's been living with her family, had a very clear role in that, and now she's leaving all that behind to go to a new life with somebody she doesn't really know that well, and a complete change in every aspect of that comfort that she had before, maybe.
Brilliant, thank you. Then Mother, Vivienne, same question. What are you leaving behind from your provincial life to become Bluebeard's bride?
Poppy. You know, she's great. She's always been there for me. Very friendly. Very good at finding truffles. You know, she's a little pig. And she's great, you know. She's sort of always been there. And it's just a shame to... But, you know, she's got to stay with the family. The truffles add an extra source of income. And you know, it all adds up. And although they made a great team, they're separated now. And that's just how it goes sometimes.
Thank you. Fatal and Miriam, same question. What are you leaving behind from your provincial life to become Bluebeard's bride?
So I want to sort of use Vivienne's prompt just a little bit to play off on that.
Please.
Poppy found this very sweet and luscious strawberry bush out in the fields that has these very delicate white flowers that eventually grow into these sweet, delicious strawberries that no matter how much the bride tried to kind of transplant and grow it in her backyard, just wouldn't. It was never the same. So she can take a transplant, but it's not going to be the same as the one in the fields.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just for her. She was the only one who ever kind of saw it and ate from it. It was her own little indulgence.
Thank you. And finally, Animus, same question. What are you leaving behind from your provincial life to become Bluebeard's bride?
I think sort of finally on this, she's leaving behind some of the power and the standing that she had as someone who is a bit of a troublemaker but is respected. And to a certain extent, when she left to become proper lady, she at the same time is expected to be slightly submissive and submit to Bluebeards. And I think to an extent, there's some loss of that power, that standing.
Absolutely, thank you. Great, so the next question, and again, we'll start with Hazel for this one. When you first met, what loving gesture did Bluebeard make that won you over?
There was a point where he said that she could have her own room. And that was very exciting to her because she imagined this life where she could make a space hers, she could craft, she could be on her own and figure out what her new life was going to be like in this new space. And for that moment, she imagined Bluebeard giving her that independence, that being a person on her own.
Amazing, thank you. Fatal, same question. When you first met, what loving gesture did Bluebeard make that won you over?
I think it was as part of the courtship, invited the bride to a picnic, which had all these lovely hand foods like chocolate-covered strawberries and, all the very romantic things. And at first, the bride was scared about being improper by just eating it, but Bluebeard took the first step and just got messy. There's juice all over his face, and he even fed the bride a little bit. And I think that's when she realized, oh, maybe we can laugh together and have a sensuous life together. This will be good.
Brilliant, thank you. Mother, same question. When you first met, what loving gesture did Bluebeard make that won you over?
As I said, sort of big ball, all fancy. Lots of people doing all sorts. And there was just, a sort of kindness to his voice, not just to us, but to everyone there, the servants, everyone who's going there, and you hear rumours, obviously, but it was just a moment of no, there is a kindness there, and that it did seem important.
Thank you. And Virgin, it is now your turn. When you first met, what loving gesture did Bluebeard make that won you over?
The offer of never having to do the washing up again. And the fact that she gets to eat off real metal plates, silver and gold plates, rather than some of the wooden stuff she's been used to before, which is really hard to get the stock mashed potato out of the grains and things. So, she's very glad that she'll never have to chip out dried on mashed potato off wooden plates again.
A curse we've all had to do. And
Modern
finally,
day issues.
exactly. Witch, it is your turn. When you first met, what loving gesture did Bluebeard make that won you over?
I think this is similarly during the courtship phase. She had a argument, perhaps with her mother or her father, and she was very upset and frustrated. She just wandered off, and he found her, and he actually listened to her tell her side of the story and why she was so upset. And that was the first time she actually felt like someone had listened to her about these things, because usually her mother and father always took their side, each other's side, like her siblings didn't want to get involved. So someone was actually listening to her and, taking her side, and that meant a lot.
Yeah, thank you. All right, third question, and again, we'll go back round, so the witch, you are to start. What present did you give Bluebeard before the wedding, and why did you choose this?
I gave him one of my hair ribbons from when I was very young. So, as I already said, her mother liked her to wear her hair long, because that's how she'd always worn it as a child. So she thought by giving him one of the hair ribbons she used to use to tie her hair long, she would be giving up that childhood life and being able to press forward into a more adult life with him, moving forwards. This is my past, you are my future, sort of thing.
Brilliant, thank you. And Virgin, same question. So what gift did you present to Bluebeard before the wedding, and why did you choose this?
I'm trying not to go down the route of my podcast episode here.
Yeah, yes.
I gave him a comb. It doesn't seem like much to him, but it was a comb that I was given by my grandmother, that I used to brush my hair, and it was quite a precious object to me, and I see it as kind of one of the more precious objects that I own, and therefore passing it off to him, I see it as I trust him, and I respect him, and kind of and open to that way.
Brilliant, thank you. Mother, what gift did you present to Bluebeard before the wedding, and why did you choose this?
Well, I made my best strawberry pie, obviously. It's the best thing I know how to make. It feels like mine, as only I know how to get the best strawberries, after all. And, it's my grandmother's recipe, my secret strawberries. It seems very personal and impossible to recreate.
Thank you. Fatale, what gift did you present to Bluebeard before the wedding, and why did you choose this?
So the bride, I just realized in my head what it sounds like. The bride showed Bluebeard her bushes, but what I meant was her berry bushes.
I understand.
But specifically, all the bushes aside from the strawberry, and specifically a blueberry bush that produced the most vibrant shade of blue, perhaps to naturally dye his hair should he so choose. And from then onwards, has started staining her lips made from that dye, and now her lips look almost purplish, a blend of red and blue.
Very good, thank you. And finally, Animus, what gift did you present to Bluebeard for the wedding, and why did you choose this?
Presented him a hand harp that you can hold and play with your hands, because Bluebeard had always loved making music, had always really enjoyed it, but had never allowed himself to sort of nourish that habit. And so she hoped that by giving him an outlet to play music, play beautiful music, then that would make him happy.
Brilliant, thank you. All right, the final question, and again, we'll go back round. So, Animus, you are the one to start. Do you trust your generous husband, Bluebeard, or do you hold unkind suspicions? And why is that? Why do you hold either one?
And to an extent, I trust him, that I don't think that he would do anything to make me unsafe, that he would put me in danger. But there's another level of that trust where I'm not sure whether he's very competent. I'm not sure that I think that he might do things not out of malice, but out of ignorance. And to that extent, maybe I don't trust him completely.
Good to know, good to know. And then Fatal, do you trust your generous husband, Bluebeard, or do you hold unkind suspicions? And why is that?
I think because I have not yet showed him my strawberry bush, maybe not. And I didn't realize how that just sounded. I have a thing about bushes, apparently. However, I think there's just this small little seed of doubt that is there, because occasionally when I've passed by and he didn't know I was there, the way he talked to the staff concerned me. He's a perfectionist, but it almost the look of fear, like he was going to do something horrible to them, gave me pause.
Very good. Interesting. Yes, because I can't remember who said it, but there was like a ball and act of kindness and stuff, but then when no one's looking. Interesting. Thank you. Then it is the mother. Do you trust your generous husband, Bluebeard, or do you hold unkind suspicions? And why is that?
All men have secrets. That's what my mother always told me about getting married. And as she said, one learns to live with them. And he seems kind, so yeah, I trust him.
Thank
as
you.
much as someone should.
Thank you. Virgin, do you trust your generous husband, Bluebeard, or do you hold unkind suspicions? And why is that?
I trust him absolutely. I have never had anyone treat me this nicely before, and anybody who treats me this nicely has obviously got no bad feelings towards me. They are genuinely just a very nice person, and they are fully trustworthy.
Fully trustworthy. Good to know.
I think we just lost Amy.
No, I think Amy's back.
Oh, no.
Sorry, I did get lost and then I came back.
Just the way of the world in Bluebeard's Pride. For just in time, just in time. Do you trust your generous husband, Bluebeard, or do you hold unkind suspicions? And why is that?
I am someone who is recognized that in getting married, I must leave behind some of the independence I had within the village. But I am not pleased about it. And I do not trust that my husband would allow me any independence whatsoever. So I don't necessarily think he's a bad person at this point, but I do not trust that he would necessarily treat me well or allow me freedoms that I know I had before.
Interesting, because he did offer you your own room and stuff as a way of independence, but you are seeing through that sort of. You're thinking that's just a gesture that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Interesting. Good to know. Good to know. Brilliant. So we've done the question bit. Well done. Thank you for filling out those questionnaires. We're now going to move on to sisterly bonds. So this, we're going to establish relationships with our fellow sisters and they with you. On your character sheet, under the sort of title Sisterly Bonds, there's a statement about how a sister feels about the other sisters in general, followed by 2 fill-in-the-blank statements where you will choose a sister for each of them. We'll go round again, starting with the Animists this time. No, actually, we'll start with the witch. Sorry, because we started with the Animists last time. Yeah, got you there. But we'll go round. So first you'll fill out the general statement, and then you go round that, and then back with the one statement, and then back again. So your general statement, witch, can you read that aloud for us?
Is your sisters are not nearly as important as power, but so I've got blank is a useful tool. I would say Fatal is a useful tool for me. Mm-hmm. They allow me more freedom than the others do. The others are perhaps more cautious and more hesitant to go forward with anything that could be considered a rebellion, but Fatal is more willing to press forward and try that instead of being held back by the mores of society, as it were, and is more willing to seek to become more than what we are currently.
Brilliant, thank you. So if you write down Fatal somewhere, say that's their first, your first statement. Brilliant. And then we'll go, where's my thing gone? We'll go then to the Virgin. Can you read out your statement and the first fill in blank?
Cool. You trust your sisters for the most part, but, and based off what has just been said, I'm going to choose the witch here. Mm-hmm. The witch blackens your innocence with her every word. Ooh. So the Virgin, she's innocent. She has not seen the ways of the world. She loves this man purely because he is nice and she doesn't see anything wrong with it. So all these extrovert kind of, no, there's another life, this is not what it's really like. It's like, no, doesn't trust those words, doesn't like them, but also finds them kind of intriguing. Kind of doesn't there's a line that she wants to cross but doesn't know whether she should. So yeah, your words are blackening her innocence.
Interesting. Really good. Thank you. Mother, could you read out your statement and the first fill in blank?
You know best and try to guide your wayward sisters, but blank irritates you with their obstinance. Explain a time they undermined your authority. I'm going to say the Animus. And I think Animus is like spirit, moral beastness. And yeah, I think this is, I think they're just a bit too willing to just sort of throw oneself into things, as, a lot of sometimes are. But, yeah, there's just been moments in the past from trying to deal with, the animals in which they can get a bit too into sort of animality, if at all. And,
go too far and try and bring everyone along with me.
I guess the other sisters have certain rules or something that they can bend the rules sort of thing, but Animus sort of just breaks out almost sort of against you might all agree to do something and Animus does something else. Is that what you're sort of thinking?
Yeah. And sometimes you have to be a stalwart shepherd rather than just going off on a handle.
Brilliant, thank you. Fatal, could you read out your statement for me, please?
Yeah. So your sisters are who they are, boring and predictable. But I think the mother has no idea of a woman's true power. Explain why you wish to teach her. I think the mother is too focused on being the shepherd and controlling us that she doesn't see the true power in maybe in bending those rules and perhaps getting, the whole you can attract more with honey than vinegar. Or strawberries in this case.
Who knew a bush would do it? Animus, what is your statement? And feel free to monologue on it.
I hold myself apart from my sisters, but there is someone who soothes you. Explain a time that they calmed your rage. And I think this is a great one for the Virgin. I imagine a time where the animus got angry, or maybe not angry, maybe frustrated at her husband. He had done something. He had made a decision about the way he was talking to the servants, the way he handled the staff in his house. Maybe he thought that they served dinner incorrectly, or they were clumsy. And I was made myself into a rage because I thought that, I was right. But the Virgin was able to sort of soothe me and sort of convince me that he has an intelligence and knowledge, especially about this world, about the sort of more upper class, more sort of aristocratic way that I don't know as much about, and that he means well, and that he is good to us.
Very good, thank you. And then we'll go back the same way. So, Animus, again, could you read out the second statement once you've filled out? Yeah, sorry, tense.
Sorry,
take a moment.
Okay, you are envious of someone. Explain why you never compare to them. Oh, interesting. I'll say why I've got a few people, but I'll say what I'm thinking of, because I think that Animus definitely has this sort of power and feeling stubborn and feeling like she's right. And there are other people who get the sort of things that she wants, but in different ways, that they are maybe a bit more wily, a bit more mischievous, and figure it out, manage to get their own way without having to dig their heels in and convince everyone they're right. Maybe that's a Fatale thing, do you reckon?
Yeah.
And so I can imagine Animus being envious of Fatale, and feeling like she will never quite be that intelligent, have that kind of wit and charm that Fatale has.
Yeah, being able to get what you want, but just by subtler means. And you're like, but I want it now. And they've managed to do it before, yeah.
I just convinced them that it was their idea all along.
Exactly. And how do you do that without just going, it was my idea?
Yeah, exactly. Credit me. Absolutely. Thank you, Animus. Well, then we'll go to the Fatale. What's your second statement?
So my second statement is you try to draw in the Virgin with your seductive aura. Explain how you hide your insecurities from her. And I think I am picking the Virgin because I see how her naivety, her innocence, just, like the cutest kid on the block, everybody just wants to go help them. A similar thing of like, I have to do so much work for anyone to look my way. And it is a bit of that insecurity, perhaps, of just like, ultimately I will be called a whore, whereas everyone will always help the pure one.
Definitely. Thank you. Mother, can you read out your second statement for me, please?
Oh. I know best. You know best and try to guide your wayward sisters, but you trust the witch to have your back. When in time they supported you in a time of need. And now, the witch obviously has a lot of their own thoughts and feelings and opinions, but ultimately, similar position of knows what to do. I think a time they supported me in a time of need is yeah, I think this is
Sorry, take a moment.
I think there was a moment where I think it was the first night in the thing, and it was, getting everything in place and feeling very lost, and used to being sort of knowing where everything that was like going on in the village. You knew everyone, where everything was, and knew where all the places were, and now it's somewhat very new. And I'm used to being very much in charge, whereas the witch is very much used to finding one's feet in somewhere new and unexpected, which is something I'm less good at. And the witch has supported me in that sort of finding the feet on the stage.
Sort of a gentle sort of, like you like control, you like having structure, but improvising and change is scary, but the witch is able to deal with the worst of it, I guess, and support you in that. Very good, very good. Virgin, can you say what your second statement is?
I've got a couple of choices for this one, but I think I'm going to go with Fatale. Often helps you play tricks on the others. I was thinking about Mother and having kind of like a mother-daughter secret code thing going on, but I think Fatale, with the way that the Animus, Hazel just had that Animus connection there, I think, yeah, the Fatale, you've got that little streak in you where you like to do things, and you're using that to maybe pervert the innocence within me, and I'm starting to enjoy these little tricks. It says, explain a time when she was your ally in mischief. I think it's probably, again, it's maybe the first days you are running around and you're seeing we're seeing this new house that we're in. It's big and it's huge, and we start to play little tricks on the servants in the house. Like move it. I start to move
water bucket on top of a door.
Yeah. No. You suggest water bucket, but I see you doing this, and I'm like, oh, but what about flour? And stick a flour. We stick a bucket of flour somewhere, and then you go out and you stick a bucket of water and flour, and it all just kind of descends into.
We're making some Yorkshire puds.
Chocolate, and then we go around with strawberries and start.
It can look really bad with the chocolate melted, though, I will say.
So, yeah.
Excellent. Oh, brilliant. I love that. Thank you. And then finally, the witch. What is your final statement?
My final one is someone draws an evil to her. I think I'm going to do a reciprocal one with the mother, I think. So she is so often in charge, or at least trying to be, that she doesn't notice when people are not necessarily looking out for her best interests or anything. So she's so focused on the current objective and control that she's blind to other things. And that to make her easy prey. So I try and be that little, I guess, devil in her ear, like, hey, why don't we do this instead? So, and I try and be her eyes and ears outside of it, because I know she's super focused. So I'm going to be like there, like at her back, just be like, all of you stay in shape, and I'll watch her.
I like that. Thank you. All right, so that is all the sisterly bonds, I believe. So thank you so much for that. And then we've got 2 final little bits of admin, and then we'll take our break. So next thing we'll go to is stats. So I think that's at the top right-hand corner of your sheets. The stats you have are qualities that describe the nature of the bride and the sisters. And there are 3 stats in Bluebeard's Bride. We have blood, which is your connection to the horrific. How closely are you tied with the darkest sides of human nature? There is carnality, which is your expression of the horrific. Do you weaponize your sexuality or give in to base instincts such as violence? And then finally, there is resilience. Resilience is the resistance you have to the horrific. How much horror can you stand before you break? These stats are numerically measured, and the baseline for these stats is at 0. And typically, I think all of you have at least one stat that is filled with a +1, which is good. And so you now have to fill the other 2 with either a 0 or 1 of each, essentially. We'll go back the other way. So which one have you got a plus in, and which one are you going to put the minus and 0 in?
I've got a +1 in blood. Sorry, could you just repeat what that one is?
Absolutely. So your blood
is down.
Yeah, so the blood is your connection to the horrific. So how closely are you tied with the darkest side of human nature?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So I've got a +1 in that. I'm going to put my neutral in resilience. So I'm not. So am I still here?
Yeah, you're still here. We can still hear you. Keep going.
Great. Let's give it a minute.
Yeah, no worries. We'll tell you what, we'll come back to you, whilst you get that sorted, so there's no worries on that part. Next one is Virgin. So can you say which plus you've got and which one of the ones you've got in?
Yeah, I have a +1 in resilience. I'm going to take the -1 in blood, because I don't think she's going to be very good at dealing with the horror. And take a 0 in carnality. So I think there's that thing within her that she does want to break that bond and lose that thing, other part of herself. So I'm just doing technology at the time as I'm talking. There we go.
It's okay. That's all right. Could you finish up? Go for it.
Sorry. Yeah, my internet broke again. I was going to put my neutral in resilience, because I feel like she's not the best, but she's not going to give up when things get sour. And then take my negative in carnality, because I do think she let her emotions get the better of her from time to time. And even though she tries to keep it cool, then she's got that lust for power that means that she isn't always controlled about what she wants.
Brilliant. Thank you. We'll go to the mother. So which plus have you got, and what are you putting the other 2 into?
So I have a +1 in carnality. Good at violence, obviously. And then I'm going to take -1 in blood and 0 in resilience. As, I'm pretty resilient. I'd say I'm resilient.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Fatale. Can you say what you've got and which one you're putting the others into?
So I've got a +1 in blood, which means that I'm probably very good at caressing my way out of horrors. And I put my 0 in resilience, because I feel like I'm just a little more resilient than I am in getting my hands bloody with carnality. So my carnality is a -1.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And last but by no means least, Animus. Can you tell us what you've got for your stats?
I have a +1 in blood. Yeah. No, that's a lie. I got very excited and then I said the wrong thing. I have a +1 in carnality. But like magic, let's go with having a 0 in blood and a -1 in resilience.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Does things, but sometimes the things happen to her and she loses her cool.
Oh, you're a very cool animus. Do not worry. Great. So the final bit we've got is face moves. And we'll talk about more moves when we actually play, but obviously each sister has access to 3 options, which we call face moves, and they will pick one for this particular session. These moves are specific to that sister, and it's only something that they can do and none of the other sisters can do. The face move allows them to do something special, but it also gives hints as to how that particular sister may react to certain situations. But that said, and I'll say this to all the sisters now, you do not have to reveal which face you choose right now. It's just more giving you the option to take one and to ask me questions about them should you wish to. And if you ask me questions about one, that's fine. You don't have to take that one as a result. The only thing I would say is that when it comes to revealing a face move, if you're doing it, you could either tell me as the groundskeeper what you're doing, like I am doing this move, or you can couch it in more poetic terms that I might have to clarify, but you can do it either way. The most important thing is that you should ensure you are following the instructions of that particular move. So yeah, I'll give you a few seconds to just pick one. And once you picked one, you could either like just thumbs up, or if you want to talk about it, feel free. But I'm not going to pressure anyone to do it. Brilliant. Oh, thumbs up, everyone. Hooray. Well, that is the end of the character creation. Thank you so much. I know it takes a little bit of time to set up and stuff, but it is quite important so that we get a good idea of who our bride is as they explore the mansion. If David's okay with it, we're going to take a quick break of 10 minutes so that people can get refreshed, sort of let those psyches settle in themselves, and I go make a mansion in 10 minutes. But thank you much, and we'll be back within 10 minutes.